I'd like to teach you a simple practice. When we're going in to discover the kingdom of heaven within, we're excavating. I shared this with you in the previous class, but I'll say it to you that we're not here. A great Sufi master, Hazrat Inayat Khan, who brought Sufism to the West in the early 1900s. He said that spiritual practices are all about digging down to the water. Now his teaching was, and I loved it because I love universal teachings, was that all religions are different wells, going down into this, like digging down to the same water. That spiritual practices are about digging. And so for quite a while, it's just dry, dusty work. And we don't necessarily feel the refreshment of it each and every time. So there's like a willingness to put the work in. So if you can think of, well, what am I digging with? There are tools to dig with. Breath is one of them. I can't overestimate the importance of these breathing practices. They seem silly, they seem simple, but they have a purifying effect on all the different levels of our being, right? So one of the tools to dig, to excavate the kingdom of heaven within is breathing. Another one is mantra. I'd like to offer you another one tonight that is one of the most beautiful, and nobody talks about this tool better than Sufis. Sufism is the mystical aspect of the Islamic religion, and for Sufis, the spiritual path is a love affair. It's a love affair between the soul and the divine beloved. And the Sufis teach that no matter what you're longing for, whatever your mind thinks you're longing for, you're actually longing for God. So Sufism emphasizes the longing, uses longing as a homing beacon, teaches that the divine beloved, when he sent a part of himself out, which is you, out into matter and lifetimes to learn and grow and experience and interact and dance and learn to love, there comes a point where the divine beloved will call that aspect of herself back and activates a homing beacon. And the homing beacon is longing. Now, the way I'm talking about it makes it sound poetic and beautiful, and it is, but there are other expressions of longing that are not so poetic and beautiful. Discontent is an expression of longing. The inability for you to find contentment in a consciousness that has not yet fully actuated its true potential. The universe will have none of it. Won't allow us to settle for less than a full awakening to our true potential. Won't allow us to settle. So creates this, what for many years I called divine discontent. Now, ego wants to just get into a comfortable, happy life. Wants to have a comfortable, happy relationship, and a comfortable, happy income, and comfortable, happy children, and a comfortable, happy neighborhood. I don't know if you noticed, those things don't exist, at least not for very long. Relationships are hard. I'm saying this in the presence of my wife, and I'm sure she'll agree. Relationships are incredibly hard and discouraging at times. And things don't go perfectly with our children. And we ride waves. Like sometimes it's really, really hard because we're not making enough money. And sometimes it's really, really hard because we have too much money. There is this kind of like, see, in the mind, not understanding that this is all longing, will interpret it as, if I could just have a better life, if I could just have a better relationship, if I could just have well, let's just start with a new pair of shoes. If I could just have those new shoes, or that new car, or make $10,000 more this year, or have a different house in a different neighborhood, or this is how the mind thinks, because the mind is externally oriented. The mind points its attention this way. And the kingdom of heaven is within, as Jesus said. So when the mind isn't aware that the kingdom of heaven is here and that this is actually what we're longing for, it will make up a never-ending list of things to want out here. Crave, yearn for, be discontent about. A never-ending list out here. And they turn out to be ego distractions. Now, please understand, I'm not saying that we shouldn't want, comfort and stability and nice things, and I'm not saying anything about that at all. But you're all old enough to realize that when you get your object of desire, it doesn't fully satisfy that longing. It just doesn't do it. And so the mind can only understand that in terms of, well, I guess I don't have what I fully need yet. I need a bigger thing. I need a shinier thing. I need a newer thing. Maybe that'll do it. So the practice that the Sufis have given us is to focus on the energy of longing. And to blow on its embers. To let it spring up into a flame that begins to consume the heart. The Sufis say that swimming in divine love inevitably and always ends in drowning. Do you get that? Drowning. Like the end of Scott. Like love is the end of Scott. Scott as a separate, narcissistic self. Love is the end of that. So here's what we're going to do. I'd like you to see if you can get in touch with something that feels like longing. Now, it could be that it's the longing about some material thing. That part doesn't matter. I want you to get in touch with any kind of discontent, anywhere in your life where you're unhappy and want things to be different. Any craving. Like it could be that you're an addict and you're craving your next fix. That craving is actually a manifestation of the longing. All addictions have a spiritual core. Do you have any question about what I'm asking you to do right now? Can you find something? It can be a sweet longing, or it can be a really uncomfortable discontent. It could be a discontent you've had most of your life, that the mind interprets in terms of, I haven't got my life together yet, or I don't have the right relationship yet, or I don't have enough money yet, or I don't have, something's missing, and that thing is outside of myself, and I have to find it. What I'm asking you to do is find the energy that drives that pattern. And it could be really uncomfortable. And I'm inviting you to see if you can tolerate the discomfort of it and bring it into sharper focus. And it could be something that your mind says, I can't live without this. I got to have this. Now, see if you can begin to allow yourself to feel the energy, the longing, the discontent, the yearning, the craving, and let fall away the stories of the mind that associate that longing with an external thing. In other words, let the stories, let the mind's interpretation of why this longing exists in you fall away. So that there is just the raw energy of yearning, the burning yearning, the deep, irrepressible longing. Let yourself feel that as fully as you possibly can, with no story or interpretation. Focus on the energy, feel it as fully as you can, invite it to get stronger. And then the last step is to begin to mentor the mind, begin to point the longing inward. Begin to gently whisper to the mind, this longing is a longing for the inner self, for the inner beloved. This longing, just whisper to the longing, this is actually about my desire to reunite with the divine beloved. To be established in love. As my essence and expression. To know the kingdom of heaven within as my home. And see if you can continue to direct the energy of that longing within, deeper into the heart center. With no promise to the mind for the outer things to be fulfilled. Mentoring the mind to understand that this longing is a homing beacon. It's meant to draw us deeper and deeper within. Bring the longing into the light. Be open to the possibility of that deeper reality, that higher reality, to make itself known in a way that begins to satisfy this longing. I'm not saying that will happen tonight necessarily. Be open to the possibility of what you were in the process of discovering deep within yourself, that and that alone is what this longing is yearning for. All right, a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. I invite you to work with that a little this week. Anybody have questions about that? Holly?
So I feel the deep intensity of the longing and identify it well, and I've identified
Speak up just a little bit more.
I've identified that longing, which feels like longing for mother or longing for beloved.
Yes, yes.
With longing for divine.
Yep.
For a long time.
Yep.
And yet I'm convoluted about how I still am like looking outside for the divine when I'm trying to connect with it.
That's right.
In meditation or in prayer.
That's right.
And I hear your words about turning it inward, and yet I don't really know how or...
It's good. So let me just quickly reflect on that. This is why I have this picture, which is just clears it right up, doesn't it?
That's potassium hydroxide, by the way. All I can say is KOH.
Okay, what is KOH?
Potassium hydroxide.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, this is Kingdom of Heaven. I'm trying to show that this profound nature, this Christ consciousness, is the essence at every level of our being. But that because of the mess of all of our karmas, all of our stories, all of our insecurities, all of our terror, all of our shame, all of our etc., it's very difficult to stay in touch with that. We've lost touch with it as human beings. So the teachings is you find it by going into the heart. But where you end up is in this. This is pervasive throughout the universe. This is, we haven't used the metaphor yet, but this is the consciousness of the dreamer that dreams the dream and is pervasive throughout the dream. Everything in the dream is made up of the consciousness of the dreamer. There's no place in the dream where the consciousness of the dreamer is not. That's this. These are dream aspects. That's this. Right? So it penetrates, it fills all of this. It can be found anywhere you look. So it's possible to look out there and find it. It's just that we so often think of ourselves as being separate from it when we think of it out there. And the truth that sets us free is, no, we are an expression of it. And so to find that as our core and our essence is transformative. It's a fabulous, wonderful, beautiful, salvific thing to believe in and find a God who's out there who loves us. That's just part of the journey. The other part of the journey is to discover I am not and have never been separate from that, but am actually a unique expression of that in the world. And that discovery is most easily found by tracking it within. Now again, that's difficult at first because when we come to the heart, because it has layers, We come to all kinds of things, including emotional upset and resentments and scars and wounds from childhood and all of that kind of stuff in the emotional heart. Spiritual heart's behind that. So we have to confront, I don't mean like, oh, confront, I mean we have to deal with all the aspects of our shadow in the process of discovering our light. And part of this class, as I do every single class, is, well, how do we do that? How do we actually work with the elements of our shadow? Our fear and our shame and our reactivity and our, these things that run so deeply into us, how do we bring love to that? We're going to be talking about that throughout the course of the class. So that we can clear out this pathway right clear through to the inner treasure. Okay? Good night. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you in a week.